Hello, it's that time of the week. We're going to have a look at 5 things that, at least in my eyes, are some of the most important things to have happened in European football. The first of them has to be Neymar. Why? Because it's been published that Real Madrid and Barcelona want him and that he has an agreement with PSG that will let him go. Let's start with that. So, apparently Barcelona are so interested in having Neymar back that they will forgive him everything that's happened between the club and Neymar, between his dad and Neymar, including 2 court cases that are still pending, including the fact that he lied to everybody, including his teammates, about his future, and including the fact, of course, that forced Barcelona into a spending spree that really perhaps was not thought of properly. And according to the stories, it's down to the fact that the Barcelona players want him back. Now, let's do another part of the story before we go back to this one, which is that Real Madrid want Neymar. But coinciding with the stories that Barcelona may want him back and may make an effort for him, more on that later, the story is that Florentino Perez has used one of his famous telephone polls, has rang a percentage of season ticket holders of Real Madrid, and he's come out to the conclusion that Real Madrid fans don't want Neymar, so he's not going to go for Neymar, so forget about signing the Brazilian. The favorite part of the story is that, according to some papers yesterday, basically Neymar has got an agreement with PSG to leave for 200 million. Well, a lot of holes in those stories. Number one, Barcelona cannot afford Neymar. And that should be the end of the story of that one, really. The percentage of wages went, sky high in relation to the money that comes in. The plan for next season is to go back to a more decent 69% percentage instead of the 83% that they had the previous season. So with bringing Neymar, that will mean not just his wages, a transfer fee of at least 200 euros, the kind of money that Barcelona cannot afford. They instead are trying to convince De Ligt, the centre-back, and De Jong, the centre midfielder, both Dutch players that will suit Barcelona perfectly. Not sure they can afford both of them, but they try, and Eric Abidal, who's director of football at Barcelona, had lunch with De Ligt, as published by the Catalan press, and spoke on the phone to De Jong. So they're trying to do that, but De Jong is wanted by others as well, including Manchester City. So why is Barcelona allowing those stories to, be in the media? And why even directors of Barcelona do mention that, Neymar is such a great player? Well, because Real Madrid do want Neymar. It doesn't matter what comes out from the Madrid press. It's either Neymar or Mbappé they're going for. The one that they really are excited about, that's Florentino Perez. It's Neymar. Why? Because he feels that he could fill the void of a Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi. There's nobody else that he sees that can have the commercial impact of him, but also on the pitch as well. And Neymar definitely wants to leave. The problem is PSG have not put any kind of figure to his head. They haven't allowed him to leave. It's going to be very, very hard. Real Madrid are favourites, but right now, the most likelihood is that he stays at PSG, because right now, PSG are not willing to negotiate. But this is now. This is, November. So we'll have to keep an eye on it, because I feel that even though Neymar don't want to force the situation, he may reach to a point where he may have to do something about it, because in my eyes, he wants to leave. So forget the stories and remember, Barcelona cannot afford Neymar. Real Madrid do want Neymar or Mbappé. PSG at the moment are not letting him go. Why is Sevilla top of the table? That will be another top story from the European leagues. And Sevilla is top of the table for many reasons. But one of them, it tends to be the case that when Real Madrid, Barcelona, and now even include Atletico Madrid, are not hitting all cylinders, there are other teams that can take advantage of because they are consistent. In the case of Sevilla, because they've got in Backslick a top goalkeeper who saved and won points for them, and with Andres Silva and Ben Yedder, goal scorers. So that is at the moment what's taking Sevilla to the top. We're going to go into a little bit more detail on that. But remember, it's the top of the table at this stage of the season with the fewer amount of points since 2001. So everybody's taking points of everybody, and that's what is making this league so exciting this season. Quite clearly, Sevilla started with doubts at the beginning, but injuries sorted out a lot of problems. Doesn't seem to be the case generally, but sorted out short-term problems. So Pablo Machin, always with his system of three at the back, managed to get a midfield that worked, that he wasn't counting on, with Banega in front of the defence, with Mudo Vázquez on the left-hand side of that midfield of three, and Sarabia, who really is a forward, on the right-hand side, and everybody worked so hard. Banega became one of the best holding midfielders in La Liga, even though it's not perhaps his natural position or his best position. He's played there in Argentina, but he has developed his football closer to the box. But anyway, he stole possession. He, of course, has got the quality to build from the back. And all that was great. The problem is that's a short-term solution. You need holding midfielder like Gonalons or Amadou. Both of them have been suffering with injuries, to replace Banega. Roque Mesa, who played in that position against Valladolid, perhaps is not the right solution. But then, of course, you cannot have the same team or the same midfield the rest of the season. So when Pablo Machin has tried to recycle the side a little bit and rotate a little bit, you've had a worse Sevilla. But because they've got such a good goalkeeper, such good strikers, then they just keep being competitive. The problem is Sevilla is going to have to buy players. I would say with the unlucky Gonalons and Amadou, who don't seem to get a good run of games. Amadou's back from injury. Gonalons got another second injury this time this season. They'll have to get a holding midfielder. They need another striker to pressure Andres Silva and Ben Yedder, even though they've got promise. He hasn't been making much of an impact. And perhaps another centre-back. In any case, players that can be introduced into 11 straight away, and that won't be easy. Why I say that is because if you get players that can go into the lineup straight away, well, basically you can continue the competitiveness that's needed to keep the level of Sevilla. I don't think they'll be able to do that. They're going to try to sign players, but I'm not sure that the level that they're showing they're going to be continuing to have until the end of the season. But in any case, you would say that Sevilla look like a top 4 side in La Liga this season. Let's deal with Sergio Ramos and the football leagues. I know that in this world of black and whites, you hear Sergio Ramos and doping, and that's it, that's your story. Why do you need the facts? Why do you need anything else? You have taken your conclusion, a lot of you, which is that Sergio Ramos has failed a doping test. And you know what? That hasn't exactly happened. The two things that he's been accused of is, number one, after a Balague game in April of this year, he wanted to have a shower. The doping representative or the anti-doping representative, he said, "You cannot do that. You have to give me your test now." And Sergio Ramos, perhaps with an excess of arrogance, decided to shower in front of the man, and then everything was sorted. He didn't fail a doping test, but he failed to comply with the rules. So he should be fined for that, even though Ramos said that he didn't do anything wrong. Yes, he did, because he was asked not to shower and he was asked to give the test when the doping man asked him to. Arrogance, not failing a doping test. Then there is the situation of the Champions League final against Juventus. He took basically painkillers, and those painkillers that he took basically are allowed if given with permission of the anti-doping agency. Now, to do that, your doctor has to put in a form exactly what you've given the player. And it was because he had problems with his shoulder, so painkillers to stop the pain in his shoulder. But the doctor did two mistakes. One, apparently he didn't file on time, and also he put the wrong type of medicine that Ramos had taken. That medicine is also a painkiller. Once the correction was made, UEFA was happy with the explanations because it was test again the blood that have come out or the urine that have come out positive, and they realized, yes, this is exactly as you're explaining. There is this painkiller in the urine sample, a quantity that they're happy with because it was to avoid pain in the shoulder. So, did he fail the anti-doping test? He wouldn't have if the doctor had actually done his job. The doctor who's not at Real Madrid, not because of that, but for another series of reasons, basically pressure from the players, I believe. But anyway, he didn't do his job properly. He said that he was confused by the euphoria of the moment. So the problem was of the doctor, who admitted that it was a mistake. Ramos has done another 300 doping tests, failing 0. So now you take your conclusions. Now that you have listened to the story, take your conclusions. Let me mention about two players that are impressing me, and it's impressive not only because of the potential, but because also right now they're already making an impact. The first one is Luka Jovic. He's 20, and in my eyes, the main reason why Eintracht Frankfurt are third in the Bundesliga. He is top of the goal-scoring chart alongside his Sebastian Haller as his teammate. He's a Serb. He's a striker that can shoot with his left foot, with his right foot, who's got a lovely turn. He loves to hold the ball, but can turn very quickly as well. A top pace as well in the first 5-10 meters, which allows him to beat more than for quality because of his strength and power. That's how he beats defenders. But he doesn't think twice about shooting. He is, in my eyes, a modern striker, very effective, lethal when he's got space. As I said, fast as well, and able to, with a great first touch, able to finish with lobs, good head of the ball. But it's what he does with his feet, but that takes him as one of the top strikers, young strikers in Europe. Followed by Juventus, followed by Barcelona, and they all looking at him as certainly somebody that will be one of the players to keep an eye on. But perhaps given the opportunity, and especially in the case of Barcelona, with the need to sign players as soon as possible, not when they become top stars, it does look in my eyes that he has the potential to be a Barcelona player, no doubt. Perhaps he's not now, but he's got the potential. I really, really like him. He's averaging a goal every 62 minutes in the Bundesliga, which is not easy. I also had a look at Sky Sports Power Rankings formula, and he came fourth recently in a list of informed stars after Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe. Not bad. Liverpool also keen to sign him, but he's not going to move in the winter. That's what Eintracht Frankfurt had said. They've got a release clause on his loan deal, because he belongs to Benfica, of 10 million euros. So Eintracht Frankfurt will obviously buy him, no doubt about it, and then they'll make loads of millions for him. His value, I would say right now, between 40 and 50 million. That much. Keep an eye on him. Really, really top striker. Kaspar Dolberg is the only player I want you to have a look at. The young Dane, it's considered one of the promising strikers of European football. He plays for Ajax, of course. He scored 5 goals this season. He had a fantastic start of the season last season, and he got an injury that kept him out from Christmas, a foot injury from Christmas to April. Perhaps he hasn't reached the heights of pre-injury, but I believe that he will. He's compared to Dennis Bergkamp because he's elegant, because he's of link-up play, he's an intelligent player too, right-footed, he takes the penalties as well. But I will compare him to Benzema because of that fantastic first touch, because he sees a pass very quickly as well, and that's what sets him apart and takes him away from the defender. Holds the ball, pass, then runs, and he gets found by his teammates. Those 5 goals in the season would suggest that he needs to upper his game, but he's got the quality to do that. I'm not sure he'll reach the levels of Benzema, but what you're talking about here, it's yet again another modern striker that can move with intelligence, that you won't find him in the box, you'll find him arriving to the box, which is why it makes life very difficult to the defenders, who likes to link play, as I said, like Benzema does, and Beckham did as well, and somebody who needs to score 30 goals, 25 to 30 goals for Ajax before he makes the jump into a bigger club. So he's not at the level of Luka yet, but he is certainly somebody that you have to keep an eye on. That's it for this week. Remember to subscribe, to tell everybody that we're here. There is more and more coming up on this YouTube channel. I hope you're enjoying it. For your comments, and I'm sorry I cannot answer all of them, but I do like to chat with some of you. And for your comments, it seems like you're enjoying what's here. So there'll be more. And there'll be more very soon too.